Our mini lecture today is on Module 4, the nervous system. And the nervous system is what helps us to be able to move. And our author here has on boxing gloves, and the nervous system actually puts into play to get you to move your muscles and do different things. So first off, let's look at what the nervous system is. It's the communication system of the body. It's mainly made up of the brain and the spinal cord. As we can see, it's like a brain on a stick. It's made of the brain, spinal cord, and all the different nerves that go throughout our bodies. It's mainly information sent to the brain and back to different parts. Now, what makes up the nervous system? This, a neuron. A neuron does three things: receives, carries, and passes information along. But a neuron is a nerve cell and is the basic building block of the nervous system. Your body is made up of lots and lots and lots of those, okay? And millions and billions of neurons. That's what your body's made up of. You right now are full of neurons, okay? And that's the basic building block of the nervous system, and it receives, carries, and passes information. Now let's look at the different parts of the neuron. So we see we have dendrites. Dendrites are the extended branches of the neuron, and they receive information to the cell body and give it called into the soma. Now, what we can see here with dendrites, those are the branching nerves. When I was in college, I was told by my professor in education, worksheets don't grow dendrites. Well, I had no idea what a dendrite was until I started teaching psychology. And dendrites don't receive information. You don't receive information and learn information from worksheets. And that's what the whole thing was about. Now, a soma is the cell body of a neuron. So the dendrites send information to the soma. Soma is that red circle there. All right? Then you have the, after the soma, the information goes from the dendrite to the soma, then through the axon. The axon sends the messages down the neuron. Once it does, then it sends it out to the terminal branches. You don't need to worry about Milan sheath, okay? But you've got the dendrites, soma, axon, and then terminal fibers. Terminal fibers connect to other neurons to keep sending information. Now, how does a neuron communicate? You have action potential, which is a firing, okay? Where the neuron sends information going boom, boom, boom. It goes a whole lot faster than that. It's more like brrr, all right? Actually, probably more faster than that. Refractory period is the recharging phase, okay? After firing, you can't generate another action potential till it's recharged. And the refractory period is the resting potential, where you rest and are ready to go when the action is done. So it's kind of like a cannon, where you have boom. When you yell fire, the cannon fires. Okay, that's the action. You reload, that's the refractory period. And the resting potential, you're waiting the command to be able to fire that cannon again. That is how a neuron communicates. Now, when a neuron communicates, it fires at one time. Everything fires at once, the same intensity, 100%. You don't have half capacity or anything. You go full out, all percentage, firing each time. Now, the synapse is the tiny liquid that actually is the gap between the axon terminal and the neuron and the dendrite of another. So this is the good thing. So, for example, action potential cannot jump the gap. Think about it as a subway. If you go to Washington, D.C., and you travel the metro, you've got different lines. And you like the green line and the red line. And you may have to change trains. You as a person can change trains, but the train stays on the same track. It doesn't go to a different track. When I was in England, we, in traveling, you have all lines up there, like the Victoria line, the Jubilee line, all those different things like that. And you may have to get from the Jubilee line to the Victoria line. Well, you're going to travel, but the train from the Victoria line is not going to get on the Jubilee line, okay? What you basically are the neurotransmitter, the chemical messenger that travels from the synapse of one neuron to the next, and you're going to generate that. This is the message. The neurotransmitter is the message. And what it does, this little green dots here that's going from one neuron to another, it can travel, but the action cannot travel between neurons. Now, as you can see, neurons are connected to one another here, okay? And that's the neurotransmitters will keep going that way. Receptor cells is what receives neural impulses that the brain can process and what occurs. Okay. For example, light will tell you in your brain that it's time to wake up. Your brain will wake you up and your eyes will open. Okay. Sensory nerves carry information from the receptors to the spinal cord and brain. For example, here, if we look at this, we got a neural chain. What we've got is someone touches a flame. When you touch that flame, information goes to your spinal cord, up to the brain, and then it goes back telling you to remove your hand. Okay? So, for example, you're touching the flame. It's like hot, hot, hot. That's being sent up to the brain. Brain saying, get your hand away, and you lift your hand. That's how the neural chain works. The brain is telling, like at first, it might be, oh, that's nice. And no, it's not. Hot, and get the hand off. How is our nervous system made up? It's made of the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. A brain on a stick. The brain has all the information and tells you what to do. And that's when it tells you, like, for example, with the fire, pain or heat, do not touch. The central nervous system, again, as I said, is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is the location of most of the information processing. The spinal cord is the main pathway to and from the brain. So you got different divisions here that occur. You have a central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, as we could just see there, is dealing with the brain and spinal cord, while peripheral deals with your motor nerves, okay, the outer region. So we got the somatic nervous system, which deals with your skeletal muscles and the nerves needed for movement, and the peripheral deals with that, and the autonomic nervous system deals with your arousing division and the parasympathetic calming division. Controls your breathing, your blood pressure, and your digestion. Now, the sympathetic nervous system deals with the autonomic nervous system and arouses the body to deal with perceived threats, the fight or flight. Later on in different mini lectures, we are going to be learning about all these different things. So don't necessarily worry about not understanding all this right now. We can see the sympathetic comes and the parasympathetic deals with what calms the body down. And this is how your nervous system works. It's all part of the nervous system, but you got your peripheral and your central. Your central is your brain and spinal cord. That's it. Peripheral deals with autonomic, which deals with regulated actions. Somatic controls voluntary, and then sympathetic and arousing. Sympathetic arousing, and the parasympathetic and calming. And that is your mini lecture today on the nervous system.